So Keegan, I said it in the beginning, man, and I'm not feeling good. And it's not from all the wings I had for lunch. I'm not feeling good whenever I look at this draft because
they bring wings into the office. Did I miss that, or was that a you thing?
I made the conscious decision. Hey, Keegan's not here. I'm getting wings. That was it.
It's very rude. Guy's working on his off day. He can't even get some wings. That's crazy. Whatever.
I'll find a good spot in Salem to DoorDash it to. Hopefully they come extra cold and they forget the sauce. We have how many months until the draft? Like 4, right? January, February, March,
April.
Yeah. Okay. A lot's going to change.
Always draft season.
So remember, it truly is. Like the second the draft ends, I'm looking at next year. Remember my feelings today. They'll be very different tomorrow when more mocks come out and more information comes out. But as we're seeing what's bubbling, Keegan, the top 3 picks in the draft are going Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter in some order. So that means Cam Ward to the Titans, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter to the Browns, which makes sense. And then the vice versa to the Giants. Hey, which also makes sense. Cleveland has Myles Garrett getting up there. The Giants have Kayvon Thibodeau, who's been okay. Azeez Ojulari, very injury prone, but continue to dominate the defensive line. What I hate about that is that, Keegan, all of a sudden the Patriots at 4 are going, Ted McMillan? Kelvin Banks? Now, Shador Sanders is on the board, and this is when an Elliott Wolf has to step up. But as you look at that top 10 draft order, ending with the Bears at 10, dude, I see Raiders at 6, Jets at 7, Saints at 9. Maybe the Jaguars are dumb enough to trade up at 5, but all teams that can move up if they want a quarterback.
Right.
If the Patriots end up not with an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and they stick at 4, that's going to be a tough draft for me to stomach because those are 2 guys that are can't miss prospects when you're outside of the top 3 keys.
Right. That's a disaster. The situation you just laid out is a disaster. I think we can all see it coming. I don't necessarily know if that's the way it's going to go. Right now, the way we look at it, it's entirely possible. And that is a disaster. So the way I look at it, right, if you're either going to have Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter as your number 1. And I would argue that the other guy should just be your number 2. And if you can come out of the draft at number 4 with one of those 2, throw a party. If you can't, now you got to get creative. Now you got to consider trading back because I don't think you can draft one of these tackles at number 4.
Same.
Now we're starting to see guys who, the Kelvin Banks of the world and Will Campbell's, those were originally, OT1. That's who we saw as OT1. Now that I'm getting more into it, and Armand Membu, I'm interested. I'm thinking might be the guy, So can you trade back with a San Francisco if San Francisco wants to go make a swing, take a run at it? A New York if they're looking for a quarterback to replace Aaron Rodgers. Then you can move back a few spots, still guarantee yourself one of either the number 1 tackle or the number 2 tackle, depending on how things flow. Mm-hmm. And then you're getting capital on top of it. I think that's the way you move if you're unable to get an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, or you just sit there, you wait for one of them to fall because at the end of the day, teams are dumb. Somebody's going to trade up for a quarterback. I believe that fully.
Yeah.
So, or maybe the Giants just take one. Who knows, right? Because they need to figure it out at quarterback. So I think you're in a decent spot, but there is just a slight, a thought in the back of my mind that, they're going to screw this up, and it's going to turn out disastrous.
And you know what, though? Some of it, to me, is out of their hands, out of their control, and that's a thing, too. Because, and it was, man, like, you and I have said it. We've said it in the office. We've said it in the show. I've said it with Travis. I've said it with our producer, Ethan. I've said it to the guy that works a post office in Watertown who's also a Grateful Dead fan because, we talk about life every time I have to mail something out.
Oh, yeah,
the Patriots need that number 1 overall pick more than anything. Needed it. Yeah. Because they weren't going to take anyone at 1, but they have so many needs. They needed the extra draft capital. And if they walked away picking 4th or 6th, but had an extra 1st and 2nd in next year's draft, an extra 2nd in this year's draft, so it would have been 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Maybe they would have still gotten an Abdul Carter in that scenario. Maybe they would have gotten an immediate impact player like an Azeez Ojulari from the Giants, like we laid it out, even though he's injury prone. Maybe. All of this. They're stuck at 4 and out of their control is what's going to happen in the top 3. Now, if it shakes out that way and they stick at 4 and they can't trade back, my man, get something. You have the Raiders at 6. You have the Jets at 7. They are both need quarterbacks. The Jets are morons. So I understand you don't want to help out your division rival. Brick Johnson's going to F that up one way or the next. That's how it's going to go.
Like Brick. Brick's my guy.
No, I'm not talking our Jack and Brick as in Andy Brickley. I'm talking Brick Johnson and Jack Johnson.
No, yeah, the 14-year-old, the kid who is ruining the New York Jets. That's awesome to me.
I mean,
if he wants to continue ruining them for the next 60 years, that's fine. I'm okay with it.
But yeah, and that's where it stands because we can see like the Patriots at 4. Say they take a Ted McMillan, it could be Will Johnson of Michigan going 5. Shador Sanders falling to the Raiders at 6, and that's the thing where maybe if you're the Patriots, you say, "F it, take Shador at 4 and stare at Vegas, and go, let's do something here, let's dance,
right.
Before we give them the hat, we got Shador, give us something."
NBA night trade.
I would love it. I would effing love it. Him? Yeah, the Jets. I mean, they need help everywhere. Maybe they go Mason Graham, just best available. Panthers could go a Mason Graham, a Jalen Walker, maybe a Will Johnson. They have so many needs, but all defense. The Saints, I don't know. The Bears, maybe they take a big swing on a Josh Simmons. They have 2 good tackles.
Right.
Josh Simmons won't be able to do anything football because of his injury until really close to training camp. Maybe the Bears trade back. Maybe they take a Wyatt Millum, someone that's very flexible and versatile in all his positions. But it's how the top 10 shakes out. It affects a lot of the top 4 and all the potential there. So, like, let's go quick. And, like, we've talked about it. We've gone through the scenario at number 1 overall. What do you think the Patriots do at 4? And let's go with right now they're sticking at 4, Keegan. And with let's go with it. No, you know what? Fine. With the variable I laid out, it goes Ward, Hunter, Abdul Carter, top 3. Excuse me. What would you do at 4?
I wanted to lay this out because I know you like to give me life lessons as my mentor, as somebody made that decision that you were going to be my mentor. So you like to lay them out. I'm going to drop some knowledge on you. I think I made that decision
without you having any say.
You did. Yeah, whatever, man. There are 3 words that, and this is very serious, that I like to live by. I think they're really, it's a great reminder for you at all times, no matter what situation you're in. Respond, don't react. Because when you react to things, that's when you get into trouble. When you respond, when you're thoughtful about it, when you're able to weigh the consequences of what you're about to do, you make better, well-informed decisions. I would tattoo that on my arm and show everybody in the Patriots building if I worked there. Like, right here, pay attention, respond, do not react. And what that means is you need to go into this draft with a plan. You're at number 4. Either things shake out in terms of all 3 of these guys are gone, you're not going to be able to get one of your top 2 options. Here's what the plan is moving forward. You've already placed calls. You've talked to New York saying, hey, if our guy isn't available and your guy is, just give us an idea of who your guy might be. If they are here, we can get this thing pushed through no problem right away. Because if you're reactionary in this situation and you're, all right, guys, Abdul Carter, come on down. He's going to be a Patriot. And then God forbid he gets picked before you, and you're scrambling, that's when you go draft a Ted McMillan, who is at the highest of highs, what he could possibly be. You've said it before, maybe a Mike Evans. And then look down the list. I'm thinking like Quentin Johnson is on the table. Like he can be that level of wide receiver where he's got the drop. I think he'll be better. Don't get me wrong.
He's got good hands, McMillan. The lack of separation worries me. Yeah.
The way I look at Ted McMillan, he's a great number 2 wide receiver if you have a great slot guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like he can be your outside guy if you have a number 1 slot out there. If you have a Devontae Smith, he can be your A.J. Brown. Not as good, obviously, but he can play that role. But if you go and just draft this dude, and that's the wide receiver, and it sounded like that's kind of what Mike Vrabel was explaining what he wanted out of a wide receiver. He was like, I want guys who can play tackles,
contested catches. Yeah. Doesn't let any PBUs happen because but he did say separation, Keegan, and that's not where Ted McMillan excels. But carry on.
Shiver down my spine. God forbid they end up with Ted McMillan. I think that's a disastrous scenario. So coming back to it, you're coming into this with a plan to where you can respond to things that happen and you're not reactionary, you don't make a bad decision. I think that's huge. I think it's the number 1 thing they should be looking to do is respond to the things that happen in front of them and not react to them. Think about it.
I agree with that response right there. Like I just agree with you laying all that out because that's when it comes into being able to respond. They have to have the scenarios. Hey, if the top 3 shakes out this way. Hey, if Travis Hunter falls to us. Hey, if Abdul Carter falls to us. If both of them are staring us in the face. Like, so much can happen.
Absolutely on the table.
And that's where we have 4 months to talk about it. They better act like they have 2 weeks to plan. And when I say that, they better be cramming. Like, I wake up every morning. how much time do I have allotted for prep for shows? How much time do I have allotted for, editing for shows? Just whatever. I'm actually not going to get to the minutia. No one cares about me. But as they plan out their day, every effing day should be like 5 hours set aside of draft prep, one way or the next. And out of those 5 hours, there better be an hour and a half of actual draft day talk.
Yeah.
Round 1, round 2, round 3, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, A, B, and C, and how it all shakes out. Because that's what it is. When you prepare, it's a lot easier in the moment. When you're unprepared and you're scrambling and your head's spinning and you don't know what's going on because you haven't visualized it before, you haven't run through it before, that's when you get caught with your pants around your ankles, pretty much. That's what this front office can't do. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out today's episode of Nesson's Daily Sports Podcast. Boston has entered the chat. We cover all things Boston sports as well as trending sports topics from around the country. Available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So here's the thing, Keegan. I said it kind of joking, but I'm also serious. Let's say the top 3 shakes out how I see it happening.
Yeah.
I'm talking to everyone beforehand. I'm putting out the report. I don't care. Let's put the smoke out there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Let's put the smoke out there in the media. If Shedeur Sanders falls to the Patriots, they will take Shedeur Sanders. And they will then turn around and trade Shedeur to go further back in the first round of the draft and get more picks. I'm doing that. I'm looking right at Las Vegas and going, you want prime? You need a head coach. You want Shedeur, which I think will be an NFL quarterback. You want this? You're at 6. Take Shedeur, give us your second, and give us a future second-round pick, and let's start the talk right there. Maybe it's another first down the road. But that's what I'm going to do. And I get you laid it out. The response, right? Don't react. Don't just settle for Ted McMillan. This is my response, though. Hey, you guys need a quarterback. You want a quarterback. You have a quarterback now being a primary owner of your team, or at least having influence. We're taking a quarterback. Our quarterback knows, and we will lay it out to him. If I'm Elliot Wolf, I'm making an X, an Instagram, everything. The second they draft Shedeur, I'm putting out a post. Hey, guys, we planned this. We talked to Drake May. He's fully on board with it. Watch what we do with Shedeur here. Shedeur, love you. Prime, love you. You guys are great people. We're going to trade you right now to Las Vegas. And then I'm going to do that because that's how it's going to go. Look, I'm done with the games and I'm done with not being smart. You got to be aggressive to make stuff happen. And you go to Vegas and go, we're going to do it now, or you trade up. Let's make some stuff happen. You go to the Jets and say the same thing. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, maybe I am pie in the sky because I'm not a general manager. Maybe it's some stupid boys club of, hey, man, don't do me wrong. Come on, just let me get Shedeur at 6. You take Ted at 4. Bygones be bygones. And Elliot Wolf goes, yeah, man, you're right. Sounds good. Let's all do it. We'll hang out in Nantucket over the summer. I don't care about any of that. I'm done. My job's on the line. I'm done being mocked at. I'm done with everyone piling on this franchise and how much of a joke it is. If I'm Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft, I'm thinking this too. Go out, be aggressive. And guess what? Hey, Robert, everyone hates you, it seems like, when it comes to owners. Jerry Jones fired Mike McCarthy at that time on Monday for a very particular reason, to take away from Vrabel's presser. You're hated? Who cares if you're hated more, man? Do this, do right by your franchise, and set it up for the future.
So here's the way I look at it. And again, don't want to dump on your hopes and dreams.
Whatever, man. This is what you're doing today. Happy Friday, everyone.
You mentioned Boys Club. I think the biggest thing you can do to get yourself exiled from the Boys Club is get into a pissing match with another team where who's going to blink first? Yeah, I got 2 quarterbacks. You don't have any. How are we going to figure this out? Because I think Vegas can look at you and go, okay, waste a roster spot on another quarterback. We'll figure it out from here. We're not going to give in to your demands because you're going to try to strong-arm us into something. And maybe they will, right? Vegas, notoriously idiotic franchise ever since Big Al, rest in peace, ever since he kicked the bucket. You got idiots running around that building running things. So I don't want to overestimate the way they approach business. I just don't see a world in which you get into a staring contest with somebody and you see who's going to blink first, and then they taped their eyes open, and you're going to end up losing. And now you have 2 quarterbacks. You wasted your first-round pick. There's going to be an uproar across New England if they weren't able to trade him within the hour of doing it, right? So that's what I mean by going into the draft with a plan where all right, the 3 guys that we expect to go 1, 2, 3 go, and now we don't really value anybody at the number 4 pick. You should have 5 trades lined up already.
Yep.
And now you're calling in, all right, this is one I like better, but there's another team over here, and they're willing to go above. Are you willing to raise your offer? Mm-hmm. That's why you need to be so prepared going into this draft, because that's when you can start, tweaking with things a little bit. You could strong arm a 3rd-round pick out of a team who's really desperate. They really want to move up for Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it is Vegas. Maybe it's New York. So I don't think it'll get that far, to be honest with you, because I think teams are just going to say, all right, quarterback's available. New England doesn't need one. Let's move up. We've got a trade in the works already. So
yeah, and I think so.
I don't think it'll get that far, but if it does, man, now you're bringing a match to a gasoline party. Like you're going to set things ablaze.
You get a peek into it when we heard all the dialogue from the Hard Knocks with the Giants between Joe Shane and Elliot Wolf. Elliot, buddy, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah. Hey, if you're going to trade from 3, call us. Call me. Call us. Call me. Please. Please, please, please. Yeah. Please, can you? Please.
I also think that's maybe one of the bigger goofballs in the NFL who was on
Joe
the other
Shane.
line of the phone. Yeah, he's just he's a weird guy.
Yeah, it's the chair at his office. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's every shot. It's like one with a headrest, and he looks like a robot. Like, just like turns around.
It's the Dr. Evil chair.
Yeah, and like
full back support, and he's like,
I'm a defender of the Giants. Brian Dable. I'm a defender of Brian Dable, and I'm just roping in Joe Shane into it a little. I'm more of a truther. I'm a John Mara truther that he effed them both over with the whole Daniel Jones situation. He wanted them. They won a playoff game. They had Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones had more rushing touchdowns than passing. And for whatever reason, John Mara said, franchise quarterback, don't let him hit free agency. Guess what? Daniel Jones is with A1 Sports and Dave Mulugeta, who gets his guys paid. Why you didn't let him test the market, I don't know. John Mara, you are an idiot. You and Brick Johnson probably get brunch in Montclair on every Sunday. Like, I'm convinced of that. Anyhow.
It's a 72-year age difference between those two guys. Just hanging out. Just boys.
It'd be weird, man. It'd be really weird.
Visual, very funny.
Final number 4 scenario for you.
Okay.
All right, now I'm cheating, but hey, I'm the host. I can cheat. It actually goes 2 quarterbacks, top 3. You take Travis Hunter, number 4. You trade back into the first round, and you get a Wyatt Millum. Now, that can depend. Yeah. Did you sign an Alaric Jackson? But if you get a Wyatt Millum from West Virginia, awesome. You don't have to depend on Caden Wallace. You don't have to depend on Layden Robinson.
One of the very few great things about needing 2 offensive tackles is you can go sign one, you can draft one, right? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you're good. You're in a good spot there.
Thanks, man. See, look at that. Look how quick that was. I went on my long diatribe of trading and all that. And then you and I just meet at the end of, you got Wyatt Millum. You traded back into the first. Sounds good.
I think we just both love the guy. That's a great idea to me. You know what I mean? Go get one of my favorite players in the draft. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like you didn't even ask what I gave up for it. I think that's the best part. Yeah, this is a guy that, just a 3-year starter at left tackle. Yeah. Hey, it's better than the mocks I was sending. I'm like taking 15 players at some point. So
yeah, like let's all relax.
I'm so far beyond that. Before we move on, though, last one for you. You're sitting at 4, right? And we've laid out the top 10 to you in many ways. And when you look at who's picking where, what's the furthest you would go back in the first round if you're the Patriots? Going back, not trading back in. What's the furthest you would go back?
7.
Same.
It's at New York. It's 7. I think it's. Where's San Francisco at 11 or 10?
They could move up, man. They might be aggressive.
Right. I think there's a possibility where they'll go in and they'll make, because you're in a year where Deebo Samuel's probably on his way out. You don't know where Brandon Ayuk is on his way back from the injury. Juwan Jennings, you paid him, sure. But do they want to go up and get their favorite wide receiver? All the way up to 4, I don't know. Do they need a tackle, right? They might move up. They might really like one of those guys and go grab them. So I think there's an opportunity. 11's just too far back for me. So I think it's probably 7 for the Jets.
It would be, because if you go to 7, 8 is getting dangerous. And again, the Panthers are picking 8, so they're not going to do much there. You go 7, you're in the Jalen Walker, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson, Mason Graham range. I don't think Abdul Carter's going to be there. But now you're looking at Jalen Carter, Mason Graham pretty much.
Right, but you're guaranteeing yourself a great player. The positional value just might not be there, but you're still getting really good player plus the stuff on the back end, whatever you're going to be able to trade that pick for. So I wouldn't rule it out, right? If they end up with Mason Graham, it's like, a defensive tackle, probably one of the best ones we've seen in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Plus, you get some extra stuff on the back end. So I don't hate these scenarios. I'd like for them to just come out of the draft with an offensive tackle or one of the 2 best players in the draft. I think that would be great. But if you're not able to, I think if they don't draft Ted McMillan, I don't think there's any scenario where they come out of it in a bad spot.
I like that. Good summary. Hear me out one more time. I'm going to go here. Trade back to 7, Mason Graham. With what you got by trading back to 7, go back into the first round, you get Wyatt Millum.
I'm fine with it. That's what I mean by these scenarios where either way you're still ending up with good football players, you're maximizing value. If you stick at 4 and you don't take a Carter or a Hunter, then it's okay, you didn't maximize value, you also didn't get one of the best players in the draft.
Then it's disaster. You don't have a plug and play day 1 guy.
Right.